Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's doing good today. Um, we are going to start the comparison in a little bit. I'll let you guys guess which is which. Let's see how many people rolling in. We don't even have. Is this live? I think it's not responding. Okay, there it is. Starting to show people in the chat now. All right, we are live. We are officially live. What's up? How's everybody doing today? Um, 3 TVs to show you. And I will reveal them in a little bit. So, a couple of things before we start. The Samsung is going to look a little magenta, purple, whatever you want to call it. It's going to have a little bit like magenta tint to it. That's just the panel. You can't do anything about it. And also, the white balance does tend to lean a little bit more magenta. With the LG C4 and the LG B4, those are going to be a little bit more blue. You can even say you'll see some green sometimes. Again, I cannot white balance the camera for multiple TVs. If I'm showing all four, that's what you're going to get. So, those are some things that you got to keep in mind. So, just don't keep typing that over and over again. I realize that, and yes, they don't look as green on camera or in person as they do on camera, and the same thing with the Samsung. They don't look as magenta as they do on camera. So just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. All right, let's start it off with just some 600 nit content for Spears and Munsell while I look through chat and see what we got going here. And I'll let you guys guess which is which, and then I'll put them on the screen again. Keep in mind, color temperature differences, all that. So like I said, the whites are going to be a little bit green on the C4 and the B4. So I mean, like that obviously like gives itself away probably if you could see it on a camera. But this is 600 nit Spears and Munsell right now that I'm running through. There's a cable in the middle of those TVs. Just realized that. I'll have to fix that when we switch content. But just wanted to say what's up to everybody in the chat. We got Classy Tech Calibrations in the house. What's up? What's up? We got Lisa. Hi. How are you doing today? We got High Def saying what's up to Classy. He said what's up, chat. Flying PJ in the house. What's good? Yeah. Jack Richards says just one winner, KG, and that's the S90D. Interesting. We'll see. We'll see. We're going to definitely put it through the test. I'll go through the settings once we reveal the TVs in a little bit. I gotta make sure they're not like stuck in game mode for whatever reason too. So we'll definitely do that. Got David in the house. What's up? Yeah, so if you guys have any questions, I'll try to answer them throughout the whole entire stream, but we'll have a Q&A session at the end too. So keep that in mind. And if you have a question that you need answered right away, the best way to do so is just leaving a super chat, and all that is also greatly appreciated if you do so, though not required. But I do appreciate the support if you do. So yeah, B4 is gonna be pretty interesting. Saw B9 in the title? Nope, not yet. Not the Bravia 9 yet. We got Ari in the house. What's up, Ari? How you doing? Let me shrink this part so I could see the chat a little bit better. Let's do this and adjust this. Okay. Yeah, so, what do you guys think of how the TVs look right now? They look fine? They look bad? What's going on? Um, can you see it clearly? Is the camera focusing? Everything sharp? I'm watching this on a really small laptop, so, like, I can only really see what I see on that end. So far, it looks okay. So, my S90D that I'm using is a QD OLED, although yours could be a WOLED depending on what region you're in. If you're in the US, you have no risk of getting a WOLED unless you're going with the sizes that are specifically WOLED, which is 42, 48, and 83 inch. If that changes, I'll definitely let you guys know. I'm noticing some weird color differences between the C4 and the B4. Especially like on those red flowers. I'm gonna go back to that once we start to reveal the TVs. They all look similar right now. They should look pretty similar right now. They're all in filmmaker mode on 600 nit content, so they should all be able to deliver that pretty well, right? Um, that's not really pushing anything too hard. There's going to be some high APL scenes where you might notice a difference, but so far they look really good. I will say this about the B4, it really does pass the eye test. So that was one thing I was kind of worried about with the B4 was if it was going to pass the eye test. And it does. It passes the eye test quite well. I really do like what I see out of the B4 so far. But like here's a high APL scene where you could probably see the C4 is brighter, separating a little bit more. How does last year's S90C compare to the S90D of this year? Well, I believe the S90D is 20% brighter. Correct me if I'm wrong, Classy. There's a lot of different quirks that go around with the S90D that I think need addressed in a firmware update. But the S90D is a really fantastic TV overall, and it is a really good TV. It's going to be one of those TVs that, you know, when it goes on sale, it's going to be one that a lot of people are going to want to buy for sure. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear by now. I don't know. I think there's a lot of different opinions on this, but the S95D was far and away, in my opinion, better than the S90D in terms of color, in terms of brightness, in terms of tone mapping. It just did everything better than the S90D. So like that was the clear winner there. So you have like a premium flagship OLED now from Samsung, where I couldn't really say that last year with the S95C because I don't think the S95C separated enough from the S90C. Now I think the S95D does that, and that says I think the S90D is probably, once the quirks get worked out, I could see it being better overall than an S95C, honestly. So I just love the changes that they made with the color for both the S90D and the S95D. For HDR, I like the color out of the box. It looks really good. And I love the fact that it is now defaulting to BT 2020. That's awesome. So probably my favorite change, all in all. All right, so go ahead and guess in the chat. I'm gonna reveal them in a second. Here's everybody's favorite frog. Shout out to the Spears of Munsell frog. I know it's gonna take a while for people to roll in here. Right now, we only got 65 people, but it's probably gonna crank up as the day goes on. It usually does. Last stream, we hit like a peak of 230 people, which was pretty big for me personally. So thank you to everybody who did show up to that stream as well. My favorite is the bottom right. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So let's go now into 1,000 nits, and I'll reveal the TVs once we get some more guesses. Both doing a really good job of showing the detail. Top left is definitely S90D. I think that kind of gives it away, right? Because it's the only QD OLED in this mix, so it's gonna, have the tendencies on camera. Obviously, the bottom two are LG. So can you guess which one is the B4 and which one is the C4 though? I guess that would be the biggest question. So we got the S90D, that's revealed, right? And are you seeing enough that really makes it like separate one or the other? To me, I think on camera it's a little bit more noticeable than it is in person. In person, they look fairly similar, to be honest. Um, I'm not seeing one just like separate yet for this kind of content, except for when color's involved. I think the S90D does sprint ahead quite a bit. And then we're gonna get into the whole tone mapping, professional toggling that on and off. Right now, I have that toggled off. It's just gonna be your default. Dynamic tone mapping is off on both filmmaker mode. Now here's an interesting scene where I think like for some reason, yeah, I know somebody came online. For some reason, the B4 actually looked better than the C4 on that scene, particularly, and that's interesting. That's something we're gonna have to explore. And then again, I will pause it on certain scenes, but left B4, right C4, high def. Guessed it correct. So yep, let me go ahead and put that on the screen then. So there we go. We got them revealed. Now let's do some analysis. Let's kind of break it down a little bit. Let's go through the modes first. Let's make sure that I'm not an idiot and having them in game mode. So let's see what it's in. Obviously, game optimizer is on. So for some reason, it didn't switch. So they're in game mode. But that wouldn't make a difference because my game mode is the same as filmmaker mode. But that would make sense why the color on the C4 wouldn't look good. Now I'm explaining that a little bit. But all right, let's put them in the filmmaker mode. Yeah, so that's not a huge deal because if the game mode is on for the S90, then yeah, we'll just have to say yeah, that was a mistake. So no, it's not. All right, we're good now, but the results shouldn't change that much. All right, so they're all in filmmaker mode. Now you should see the C4 separate a little bit more. That is out of game mode. And again, I'll explain that. Explain that in a little bit. Here's a scene where they all can look fairly similar, but the colors are going to look a little bit better on the S90D. I like this scene a lot too. It really can show off the red quite a bit. The red's a little bit different from the B4 to the C4. But not as dramatic as I thought. Like when I was getting the B4, I thought it was going to be like a big difference between the C4 and the B4 because it's just newer panel and all that, right? They're not giving the Evo designation to the B4. I mean, like I can't really separate them too much. There is going to be some specific high brightness scenes where you do see the C4 separate. I mean, here's a scene where I think the S90D and the C4 definitely separate from the B4. So these like high APL scenes, these higher brightness level scenes, this is where you see it separate a little bit more, right? And then you see the actual TV's tone mapping not to do not have to do as much, right? So again, another scene I'm talking about here. Really wish the B4 sat up a little bit higher, but it has these like 2 feet design where it's like you won't be able to put this on a smaller table. That's the bummer about the B4 is like you will need one of those longer stands or a longer table because it has 2 feet on the end, and that's the only position for those feet. So it's really unique that it does have those feet. You know, that's something new for the B series. They haven't really had that design before. Again, I do think like the C4 has the higher brightness than the B4. C4 also popping out here more than both. I don't know what it is about that scene, but LG just does that scene better. It just like even on the G4, that scene is always just popped out to me um over the S95D. So I talked about the tint and the way that the camera works. So this blue green tint that you're seeing is more so the camera because I can only set the white balance to one TV, and I have set the TV's white balance to the C4 or the camera's white balance to the C4. But then that ended up making the camera look too green, so I had to like find a middle ground, and now the camera just makes the S90D look a little bit more magenta, and then the two LGs look a little bit blue, green. I mean, that's just yeah, that's more so the camera. Um, in actuality, you probably do not see that. I know for a fact, like it doesn't impact my viewing. Like if you really pay attention, you look at like grays and stuff and certain colors, you can see like yeah, the S90D has a little bit of that magenta hue to it for the tint, and then like the LGs will have a little bit of green cast sometimes. If you really go looking for it, you can see it. But it's not it's very subtle. It's like not as much as it looks on camera for sure. Is that OLED suitable for bright room? Which one? And it really depends on like what bright room, like how bright your room is. Like everybody talks about bright room and like is it good for a bright room? Um and that's one of those things where it's kind of hard to explain because I don't know your room. That's the problem with it, right? The B4 is noticeably worse than the other two in some shots. The S90D just kills them both. Yeah, and if you're talking about like the brightness differences, yeah, for sure. Um, like the actual differences though, like in person, it's not super night and day. I will say that the B4 here is struggling with the 2000 nit tone mapping, as like the C4 isn't. So that's something. And also, since the Samsung has very aggressive tone mapping, um, you will see that sometimes it actually won't look as bright as the C4. So the C4 does sometimes win the brightness category. Although when color brightness is involved, that's when the S90D does tend to separate. Let me double check, Classy. It's a good question. I've messed with this so much that I just absolutely forget. So it's at 48. It's kind of like the middle ground, the compromise. Do you guys want me to put it at 50? Because like if I put it at 50, we're definitely gonna get the. Let me go back. This is actually a good time to explain the whole thing with the contrast to people who don't know. Um, so let's go to the horses in the snow here. We'll pause it. And so if I go to 50, we start to kind of clip the details. You really see this in 4000. So I'm going to show you. Um, let's get out of this and go to the 4000 one. 48 is good, yeah. 48 seems to be pretty good for that. I think game mode needs a little bit more. Like 48 on game mode tends to be not enough from what I see. Yeah, here we're gonna definitely run into that issue. So so as you can see, like I'm at full contrast now. The B4 is struggling like with this a little bit. The C4 is doing a little bit better job, but they're also struggling. It's also struggling, right? This is 4000, so um definitely harder for the TV to tone map this. But as you can see at 50, it's just completely blown out, right? So like when you go to 48, still not enough. This one you kind of have to go to 45. 4000 is just really tough for these types of TVs. S95D actually handled this quite well, and had no issues with it. So I'm gonna keep it at 50 though. But just so we can see what it looks like out of the box, right? But I recommend having it at 48. So let's go back now to the 2000 where we were. Can the C4 fix it with the Pro mode? I'm gonna get into the whole like different tone mapping settings in a little bit. I want to take us to like some YouTube demos and stuff that are gonna be a little bit more colorful to show that off. So I'm gonna start with Spears and Munsell, and then I'm gonna work my way into a little bit of gaming, and then we're gonna do some YouTube demos. And if we have time, I'll show a little bit of movie scenes, although I kind of like doing that not on stream because I can cut it up and do it, without worrying about having to cover up for copyright and all that stuff. And this is really a run-of-the-mill OLED shutout. Shootout? Or did you mean shutout? C4 is a really impressive TV. Although like it's so hard to recommend because of the game mode issues, which I'm gonna get into. This one's pretty interesting. Funny enough, I think I see more banding on the C4 than I do on the B4. There's no banding at all. And when I say banding, I mean color banding. So, um, color banding in the sky. That's what I'm seeing right now in the C4 more than the B4, and then nothing in the S90D. It's pretty interesting. B4 is going to be pretty interesting because it's going to be at a much cheaper price come Black Friday. Like I think the 55 inches were sitting around $1,000. And like when you can get a 55-inch OLED for $1,000, that's a really good deal. And I'm telling you right now, like even the LG B4 is gonna spank most LCD TVs, like as long as they're not super bright. So TVs that you can buy around that range, for sure. I guess that's a better way of putting it. TVs that are gonna be the same price as the B4. Hey, here's one for me where I think that the S90D out of the box, in the way that it's performing, the way that it looks, is gonna look better. Um, Here's another one where it's like the colors start to kind of blend in a little bit more. There's no separation of like indicator of luminance. So the S90D, for example, does this really well. The B4 is struggling with this, and then the C4 is also kind of struggling with this, starting to lose color information at the top. Like it actually seems like the color is clipping a little bit at the top of that. What is that? A fruit? A flower? A cactus? I don't know. I don't know what it is. It'd be really interesting to see how that performs in professional mode, which we will go to in a second. But one of my favorite scenes. Oh god, I always miss it at the top end. Yeah. Okay, got it. So yeah, you can see that the C4 clips this. It struggles showing detail here. The B4 is not as bright, but also is starting to clip that color. And the S90D shows it a little bit more. Now again, we can go back to the tone mapping modes with this and show you what these scenes will look like. But this is where the S90D does separate. And when you see this scene on the S95D, I just gotta say, it's one of the most impressive things I've seen from an OLED TV is this scene on the S95D, because it separates from the S90D just as much as the S90D separating from the others. Like the S95D's color brightness feels like it's on another level. And that's something that they're not going to talk about in other reviews. They're just not. Like I don't know. But these are just visual things that you can see. I don't know why people are throwing the S95D under the bus. Like it is far and away the better TV than the S90D. Let's make that 100% clear. Here's another example of, color brightness and the way that the TV's handling color. The color yellow is not going to look good on a WOLED in certain shades. Certain shades, you're not going to be able to do it, right? And so this is another example. You have really nice yellow on the S90D here. Then the WOLEDs on this like not gonna look great. Not even the G4. The G4 doesn't even look good on this scene. So, yeah, that's another one of the things where I keep going back to that. Like there is gonna be examples. They're hard to find, but there are examples of why QD OLED is going to be better than WOLED no matter what. Another example of color, where it's like the S90D does stick out much more than both LGs. And again, we will go through this again with the professional tone map settings. The reason why I'm showing you this is because you can get better color out of your LGs. They won't match the S90D, but you can get better color out of it with the professional mode, and I'll show you that. Again, the color. I can't stress this enough. You can see differences. You can definitely see the B4 lagging behind a little bit on this scene particularly. And again, see how much the yellow is clipping on the C4, the B4, the S90D. Actually, you probably can't even see that on camera. So you can see, look at the orange detail of the sparks here. And instead on the C4, it's just kind of losing the color, clipping out the color. It just can't do it. So yeah, the B4 does have professional mode. Classy's still here, I think. Yeah, the S95D just avoid direct light in general. Otherwise, man, I love the S95D. I love it. I think it's a great TV. That G4 versus S95D is going to come down to pick what you want in your TV. You want depth and clarity. G4 is probably going to be your bet. You want color brightness and just color you just can't get. Then yeah, definitely go with the S95D. But like I do think the G4 in the clarity and depth department does separate. And I think that even like S90D C4, you can even say like I think there's scenes where I see more clarity from the C4 as well. That's because they're probably not doing as much to the image. Here's a scene where I like the it's gonna look dark. Let me fix the exposure. Here's a scene where I really like the C4 and the S90D. I think they do a really good job. It's interesting though, the sand though, like it's like white looking on the scene. That could be also just the way the white balance is, of course. What about unprofessional mode? I mean, I guess technically this is unprofessional mode. Here's where you can see like a luminance difference for the C4 and the B4. Also a color difference. You can see the S90D here is actually starting to show a little bit of like the color in the sky, whereas the other two TVs don't show that color. But the C4 does have that brightness advantage here. Show a little bit here. You can see what I'm saying about the color there. There's just more coming through. And again, we will play with the professional mode in just a second. If you guys are enjoying this stream so far, please go ahead and hit the like button so we can get this spread out to more people. That would be really awesome if you could do that. That's definitely a scene where it's like LG does that scene really well. Is a parrot. This one looks better on the S90D to me. All right, let's go back to the area with the colors, the color brightness and stuff. Like I feel like this is a good area to look at with that in mind. Starting with this. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and flip on the professional mode toggles. So we're gonna do it on the B4 here. I'm just gonna leave it on default because it does seem to work pretty well. And that way you guys don't like really get confused. When I toggle it here, I don't see a difference for this particular scene. So I'm not gonna toggle it here yet. I'm gonna find something where I can see a difference. Maybe here. Mm-mm. But you guys, I mean, like, I have it paused right now so you can see kind of like the difference, though. Here, to me, I think the S90D is the clear winner in a scene like this. Let's go to a scene where I know is affected. Is it this one? No, it's the next one. No, it's the other one. It's definitely this one. Sorry for skipping around. Oh, I'm dumb. I'm in the wrong content. I have to be in the 4000, I think. Let's try 1000. This is actually one of the scenes that does it too. So, like, you can get a little bit more color back on this scene. Well, on the G4 you could. I actually didn't test it on the C4 yet. But I would imagine they have the same behavior on that. So, we are on 1,000, right? And right now it's at 100. It looks to be performing about what it should, honestly, on this scene. Yeah, the G4's behavior seems to be a little bit different. So it would just really be the 4,000 nits that the professional mode's really going to have an impact on this stuff. So that's good to know. What I'm showing you really is nothing you can do about it. I think this one might be affected by it. Nope. Let's see. Yeah, it's cool that the B4 has that. Although it doesn't seem to be effective at 1,000 nits. Like, it doesn't seem to be doing nothing. So, whereas the G4 definitely had an effect even at 1,000. But to me, you know, the one that really does stick out is the S90D when it comes down to those color brightness scenes, for sure. But I will say this, I think the C4 is way better than the C3 at how it's performing like next to the S90C last year. The S90C just kind of always won against the C3. So like it's nice to see the C4 is more competent this year. We'll go back to the 4,000 nit mode, even though like they both do kind of clip and stuff. So just keep that in mind. I just wanted to see if I can get this professional mode to kind of like work better. There we go. That's a scene. You can see the difference here with 4,000. As you can see, like you can really turn it up. Obviously, you do like start to clip more. I think the G4 does a very good job at like keeping the color. This one doesn't really this one really doesn't hold on to the color as much, which makes sense. So professional mode will just make it really like brighter overall. So it's like a balance of do you want detail versus do you want more. So like even on 4,000 here, you can see it's like clipping, right? The default would be 10. So yeah, you're losing detail if you use the professional mode on the C4. Quicker, much quicker than the G4. So you definitely be careful with this toggle on the C4. It does seem to be destroying the image faster than like the G4 would, where I felt like the G4 didn't really have a lot of detriments to using professional mode. There's definitely more of a trade-off now. And again, when it comes down to like showing the detail and all that, when it comes to 4000, this is gonna not show it as good. So you're definitely gonna have to lower the contrast to like 45, but you're losing HDR impact at that point. It's funny because this doesn't really work on 1000 like it did on the G4. So I don't know. We're just gonna leave professional mode off. For the C4, I wouldn't touch it really. I mean, I have to do some more tests on it, but for now, I'm gonna keep it off because it really doesn't seem to have that much effect like it did on the G4. And the trade-off is probably not worth it, honestly. Unless you are fine with clipping some details. Let me go back to that scene and let's see if we can get the 1000 to work on this scene. No, not really a difference, is there? All right, so you guys want to see the dynamic tone mapping on, right? So how should I show that? Let's just do it with this 1000 nit content. We'll put the put movie mode on here. Again, I have the color on 45 for this one, but we're going to keep it or the contrast at 45, but we're going to go ahead and put that back. So we are on active tone mapping here. We're going to go ahead and put dynamic tone mapping on now. So I'll just go ahead and put cinema modes. I'm going to put them into cinema home, I guess. Let's restart the spheres and Munsell. Really, I think any of these TVs are like that. So if you buy any of these TVs, you're probably good for the next 5 years. I mean, even the B4, you're probably fine. Like for a lot of people. Now, if you're talking about like cutting edge, bleeding edge stuff, like no, the G4 will be. You're gonna not. You're gonna want to upgrade if you're somebody who upgrades a lot. Still, so it's like I think a lot of these TVs, especially the G4, most people will be fine for 5 years, at least, no doubt. So I have dynamic tone mapping on all of them right now. Now remember, like the way that the dynamic tone mapping works on the LG is going to be a little bit different than the way that it works on the Samsung. Where do chronic upgraders put their TV in every room? Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Probably. That's probably the case. I know for a fact, like, I have 7 TVs in this room right now. And I just kind of have like a G4 on the floor, not hooked up, because I just wanted to show you these. The TV that's in the top right is actually the QN900D, but I'm not turning it on for this comparison. This is just going to be these 3 OLEDs in this comparison. We're going to go into game mode next, and then we're going to go back into content, and I'll show you some YouTube demos and stuff, and we'll try to test out the professional mode a little bit more in depth and see if we can get it to work better. G4 had no problem at all. But to be honest, I didn't test professional mode on the C4 a lot. So I do know that the little testing that I did with the C4, it did seem to clip a little bit faster like we saw today. Now we got a super chat from Stop the FOMO. Thank you for the super chat. He said the S90D is too good compared to the C4 after watching this, even with YouTube compression. Yeah, I think there's a lot of scenes that the C4 is brighter, but it's not enough for me to like give up the color brightness. It's just not. Like with the G4, that kind of separated at times with like clarity and depth and everything. But yeah, I just feel like you can tell the S90D is the more capable TV. But shout out to the LG C4 because it is a beautiful TV. It looks really good. But like scenes like this, for example, like I mean, LG just cannot do this butterfly. The colors break. The colors absolutely just break. When it comes down to like the LG trying to do this butterfly. Like the bottom of this butterfly. That's one that really sticks out to me. And it's also like they can't nail whatever shade of yellow this is. It's more green on the LGs. Even on the G4 it was like that. And thank you for the super chat, FOMO. I really appreciate that. FOMO paid a message. Yeah, FOMO always shows love. I appreciate that. We both got the QN900D, and we're both trying to evaluate the QN900D. Like, it is the weirdest TV to kind of like break down and evaluate, and I'm trying to iron out some quirks with it. But it's, you know, I'll tell you this about the QN900D, man. The upscaling from 4K to 8K. Oh my god. I've never seen such clarity, like, in so many different scenes. And then when you watch like just the 8K from YouTube on it, yeah. People say you can't see a difference between 8K and 4K. You're crazy. Because I was looking at it next to the S90D, and I just like the details stuck out. I was able to see like little cracks on the rocks that weren't there on the S90D and things. Like I really wish I could capture this on camera, man. Like it is so hard to show you on camera. But I've been impressed with the clarity and the sharpness of the QN900D. But the biggest problem with the QN900D, you want to know what the biggest problem with it is? It's an LCD. That's just the plain and simple answer right there. I hate that I'm saying that. I hate that. But it's an LCD. And so far I haven't seen an LCD that comes close to match an OLED. I will say this though, the QN900D does a really good job in dark scenes. Really good job. Probably the best LCD TV in a dark scene that I've seen personally yet. But even then, it still doesn't compete with OLED. So it's like, that is something that you will never have with an LCD. I don't care how good your LCD is. You're not going to compete in dark scene with contrast. Nothing like that. The hope for LCD And the hope for the Bravia 9 is that it is going to be good enough to the point where you say you're not sacrificing too much contrast to go with this TV. Because one, you're not getting the same consistent brightness as some of like the G4, the S95D. S95D is brighter than the QN900D in most scenes. And I will have that comparison for you. So I already filmed that comparison actually. And so that's one of the things that you keep going back to. It's like I'm having a hard time evaluating LCDs next to OLEDs, and I don't know if it's even fair to do. We will be getting the Bravia 8. I don't know when, but that's definitely on the list. And blooming is just another downside that you have. And to this point, like I actually do not even mind blooming. I don't care about blooming. I don't let it ruin my viewing experience. It's the sheer contrast difference where I'm like, man, I was watching John Wick 4, just the intro scenes on all 4 of these. And I won't show it to you because it's just we're doing 3 TVs right now, and I don't want to turn on the other one and go through these modes and have to do all that. But just take my word for it. Even the B4 just looked like it had more contrast, more of that. And yeah, LCDs just will not look good next to an OLED. It's just an unfortunate fact. All right, let's do some gaming. Since we have some games, let's go through some games. I want to show you Ori, kind of. I don't know if my camera will pick up Ori that well, but we'll just definitely have to let it adjust. Okay, so let's make sure we set all the game mode differences here. Game optimizer. I'm gonna use HGIG for now. But first, actually, I'm gonna turn off HGIG for now because I will put it on in a second. But I want to show you something with the C4 and the B4. I do want to show that. Now let me take this off here. Let me make sure that this is in to game mode. It is not. I thought I had ALLM on this thing. I guess I don't. No, I don't. Okay. Now I do. This is obviously not not where I want to be. Okay. I'm going to have to redo game mode because I must have put this on a different port like a dummy. So let's redo this. So I guess this is a really good way to kind of explain like how you're going to want to set up your game HDR basic out of the box. So change it to basic. Make sure your sharpness is whatever you want to set it to. 7 is where I usually go, but like I'm gonna go 0 because that's what a lot of people do, and that's what a lot of people want to see. And if I don't do that, then they're just gonna yell at me. So let's go here. We're gonna go to auto. I would set this to BT 2020 normally with some special settings. I will show you that in another video. For now, we'll go auto since that's more like what you would set it to out of the box. And then warm 2 is where it would be on default. Not gonna mess with color, but that's that. So now we are going to be looking very similar across the board here. All right, so the game is paused. That's why it was so dark. Hopefully you guys can see that right now. All right. So, first of all, I love this game. The color brightness in this game is awesome. Really good example of why I would not buy a C4 over an S90D for gaming. Just really good example. I mean, uh-oh, I'm getting attacked here. I'm getting attacked. Let me take out this guy so I can finish what I was explaining. Here's the problem though. S90D is definitely clipping. I could see it. So, to avoid that, you're going to want to take the contrast down to at least 48. But even then, when you do that, it still clips a little bit. But right now, I do have the consoles set to, I believe it's 1,000. I believe it's 1,000. I might be wrong. I might have to double check that, but I think it's 1,000. So like, yeah, there's definitely like more brightness in general in game mode, but definitely more color. Like the blue coming off of this waterfall right here. Like my God, like that's really nice. Like that's almost like like you could see the water glowing on the TV. So that's pretty special. Um, so we are in game mode. Of course, when we are in game mode, we will do this test. Flipping it in and out of game mode. So I will set my filmmaker mode to be the same. As you can see, hopefully you can see this. When I switch my game optimizer into filmmaker mode, you can see I get my color and my brightness back on the C4. And then the C4 looks closer to the S90D when it is like that, right? All right. So when it comes down to the B4, when we do it on the B4, and again, I just want to double check that all the modes are set the same. Should be, but I'll have to double check again. So, oops. So going from game optimizer to filmmaker mode, right? On the B4, you're not gaining anything, you're not losing anything. The biggest difference though with the C4 is like the C4 is gonna look better in filmmaker mode than the B4 in filmmaker mode. Like it's gonna look better. So you do got that going for you with the C4, but again, you lose that, and then it ends up looking like the B4. So all the advantages that you get with the C4, you end up losing anyway. So you might as well just get a B4 if you're gaming for the most part. But there's a difference still, even saying that. So you don't lose anything going out of game optimizer like you do on the C4, but you also don't gain anything. So it's like the C4 is just a more capable TV than the B4 already. So if you're buying, one of these two for gaming, I actually wouldn't buy either for gaming. I'd just buy the S90D for gaming, honestly. But saying that, you know, that is one of the things where I have to find the yellow scene. Saying that, I think that I keep going back to the LG B series, C series. I'm not a big fan of it for gaming. I'm just not. Not when you have the S90C available, not when you have the S90D available. So, now we're gonna switch to Jedi real quick. Let me adjust the camera. All right. So, I mean, look at the blue lightsaber here. One of the games that I'm definitely checking out is going to be Sea of Thieves because that shows color so good. So good. This red is a pretty interesting pretty interesting. It's clipping on the camera, but it's not clipping in person. So let me fix that. Man. That red is so deep or so bright that I can't get it to not clip on the camera. For the S90D. Okay, actually it looks a little bit better now. For some reason the game mode looks a little bit clearer than LG's game mode. I don't know if I'm just like tripping off of this sign, but yeah. Definitely interesting. Have it at 0 sharpness too. How does the B4 look better on certain stuff? Look better than what? The C4? Or the S90D? Because I'm not seeing any scenes where the S90D is getting beat in game mode. Like nothing. I haven't seen anything yet. For SDR play something other than TMT, I'm not a fan. Okay. I definitely will do that. This game didn't want to load for some reason on the C4. What's up with that? Let's try that again. Okay, there we go. Sometimes splitters be chirping. So, super high vibrant colors. Welcome to the show. The S90D just standing on its own for here. Like it's stupid how much they separate. Like if I was trying to show somebody this at the store, this is like I'd show them this and they wouldn't think twice about getting the S90D over these two, right? Like I mean, look at the green guys. Like this is just a pure difference of W OLED, QD OLED. This is just a difference right here. Like this, like it's stuff like this where that's why I was such a big proponent of the S95B over the LG. What was it? The C1? Yeah. I was like, why would you buy LG C1 over the S95B? Like to me, it was a huge difference in gaming. Huge difference. Let me actually change the camera exposure. I realize it's a little dark. I don't want to clip the colors though. Keep it at that. Is the B4 bright as the C3? In game mode, it is pretty much. I would say the C4 is probably got a little bit more luminance, but like color brightness wise, yeah, they're fairly similar. The difference is the LG C4 is more capable. Like, for example, if you use ALLM and then you use filmmaker mode, for example, like you don't gain anything with the B4, right? So you don't really lose anything either. Oh, see, like when I switch it, you lose like a tiny bit of luminance in the sky, right? That's sort of what the behavior was when you switch from game optimizer to filmmaker mode on the G4. So when you do it on the C4, you can see all that, you get a lot more back, right? It starts to be a little bit closer and gets it a little bit closer to the S90D, although nowhere near it. So like you do got that. And let me double check that I don't have dynamic tone mapping on here. No, it is not. But professional mode is on. So this is where you will see a difference in professional mode because the console is feeding 4000 nits metadata. So you'll see a difference here if you use the professional mode toggle. Because if you don't, you can see how much color you lose. So this is an example where game mode is like where I would use professional mode on games that I'm not using HGIG on. Especially if you're C4. C4, you're not going to be gaming in game mode. I mean, you are, but you're going to be gaming in ALLM, filmmaker mode, or cinema home, or wherever you want to game, right? You're not going to want to game in game optimizer on the C4 because look how much you're losing. Like I toggled that on and off so I could show you the difference. All right, so now let's go HGIG on them all. I do have HGIG already on the S90D. HGIG is actually really good on the B4. It seems to make it brighter, punchier, honestly. Like, there's no reason to use dynamic tone mapping off on the C4, as you can see. There's no reason. When you're using HGIG, they look fairly similar to C4 and the B4. Not a ton of separation here. I will say this though, if you look on the screen, like you can see image retention, temporary image retention. Look just top left of the ring. You can see that on the C4 and the B4. You can't see it on the S90D. Again, it will almost look like dirty screen effect when you have temporary image retention on the screen. You'll be like, whoa, what's that? Why is that there? That's what that is. So I'm gonna leave this sitting here for a second. I want to see if I can get that to show up a little bit better. Maybe like brighten that up. You know, this is something I seen on the AAGJ. Was temporary image retention in game mode. So I see it on the C4 now. I see it on the B4 now. So that is something that I wanted to call out to you guys. Sky is more blue tinted on the LG. I mean, it's probably just the camera. Wow. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Wow. S90D is a wow TV. But again, clipping details, we're definitely clipping details. Okay. Like there is no no doubt about that. So I don't even have it as full luminance, but if I did, I have it at 50 contrast out of the box. This is what you get. Of course, you're clipping details. Again, you're gonna have to go to like 45 to get some of the details back. But even then, you're not gonna get details in this scene on a QD OLED. It's just not. I don't know whatever reason it's not. Just not. There's probably ways to do it though. I bet you if you lower the ST2084, keep that in mind too, guys. Like the EOTF on the S90D is definitely higher, so you're definitely gonna have to like bump this down a little bit to match. I think like -1 or -2, and then like shadow detail 1. I won't mess with that right now though. I just want to show you it out of the box. But you're definitely gonna want to take it down, otherwise your dark scenes are gonna look too bright, which I'll show you in Elden Ring in a second too. Yeah. So, do you guys see that on the screen right now? The temporary image retention on the C4. You guys see that, right? Tell me you see that. You see that, right? Like it looks like a little white streak on it. You see this? Yeah, you know what? Like I didn't see this issue with the G4 at all. You keep in mind, like I don't expect to really see it with the S90D either, because I believe it does have like a better way to cool the panel down. So, but yeah, you will get temporary image retention on the C4 for logos, things like that. I saw the same kind of pattern with the A80J, A80 series, just in general from Sony. All right, so that's enough of that Hot Wheels. I'll actually run through the game so you can see some of the colors and stuff. So we'll go ahead and restart this. So I'm gonna just sit here in the little intro screen. Look at the Hot Wheels sign. You see the Hot Wheels sign? It looks like it's kind of lit up on the S90D, where it doesn't look like it's turned on the C4, for example. And the S90D even looks like it's kind of like not fully lit up. On the S95D, it looked like the Hot Wheels sign was actually like a neon sign. That's how crazy the S95D was. Let me adjust the camera. Okay, I adjust the camera. Hopefully it doesn't clip. To me, though, I wouldn't buy a C4 if I was gaming. Period. Like, there's no reason to buy a C4 if you're gaming. There's no reason to buy a C3 if you're gaming. But I tell you this though. Oh my god, I forgot to accelerate. I'm telling you that there's gonna be so many people that recommend the C4 for gaming. Just don't listen to it. They're not spending time with game mode. They're not. You can't spend time with game mode and just say, "Oh yeah, C4 is totally great for gaming." No, not when you look at the competition. And you have to look at the competition. It really doesn't look on. Yeah, I know. That's what I said when I first saw it. I was like, what? What is going on? Yeah, the LGs look way darker. I mean, that's game mode for you. That's the thing, man. I'm gonna sound like a broken record on this. I don't care. I have been saying this for years. That's why I picked the QN90B over an LG OLED when I was talking about game mode differences. Yes, I will even take an LCD in game mode. Not current LCDs though. QN90B, QN90C. Those were good. QN90C was really good with the ADS panel. God, I don't know why they got rid of the ADS panel this year. I really don't. Like, ADS panel is so much better than the VA stuff that they're using right now. I know that's like maybe a controversial take, but just color difference is huge. And like in general, I'm not a fan of the coating that's on a lot of the new VA panels. Whatever companies are doing with those VA panels, I don't like it. Q900D has a really good VA panel. Although like it does feel like the color out of the box probably needs a little bit of tweaking. Let's go to another game now. Let's go to Elden Ring. Not a very bright game. People on Reddit 4K hated ADS panel. That's because they're idiots. It's because they're idiots. Like they live in this little hyper echo chamber on Reddit, and it's just all ran by one dude. They hate me over there, so I don't care. Like, okay, if I say anything bad about Reddit, they probably don't care, because they already hate me. But yeah, I mean, like they're weird on it. They're weird. I love this river scene. It's weird to say this because this might just be like perception, and I don't know. But the B4 looks better than the C4 on this scene. Again, I might just be tripping here, but like this might just be where I'm sitting. I am slightly off angle. But it just feels like the dots in the sky, the stars, the stars in the sky, and the color overall looks better on the B4. I like it. It looks better on the B4. That's sad, right? And again, you'll see the S90D. It's too lifted. It's too lifted for sure. You're gonna want to take that down. I can see that just looking at them plain and simple. S90D is too lifted. So you're gonna have to take it down. You're just gonna have to. That puts it closer in line when you put -2 ST2084, +1 shadow detail. Similar things have to be done on the it's a dead rat. Some similar things have to be done on the not the G4, on the S95D as well. And shout out to Classy for helping me out with that information. Elden Ring's a game that's not very bright, not very colorful, not something that's really going to challenge. God, the C4 is losing to the B4 right now. The B4 looks better. I don't know what it is, but it just looks better. Color brightness, better. Look at that. It's crazy to me. It's wild to me. Oh, speaking of sky dots, did you guys get to see the Northern Lights the other night? I did. I got pictures and video of that. Oh my god, I saw it from my backyard. It was like some of the coolest things one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. Like I sat there for like 3, 4 hours filming this thing, taking pictures of it. It changed throughout the whole entire night. Like at times it was green, times it was purple, it was swirling. I was like, this is amazing, man. I wish I would got to see it like with no lights around me, near the water, with it reflecting off the water, something awesome like that. Like, oh my god, man. That's a once in a lifetime thing. I don't think I'll ever get to experience that ever again. I don't know if you guys got to check that out or not. We got a super chat from Luke. I'm sorry if I missed this earlier, but I do want to say thank you for the super chat. He says, "Hey KG, in your recent S90D versus S95D video, you say the S90D lacked punch in highlights versus the S95D, where last year's S90C and S95C were close. Is the S90D still better than the S90C with highlights though?" So I have not seen that comparison personally. I haven't seen the S90C next to an S90D to say. Definitely seems like there's something going on with the S90C in terms of highlights and sometimes looking a little bit flat. So that's the biggest issue that I have with the S90D. I think I just said S90C, but I meant S90D. Sorry to confuse you. I'm not trying to. But yeah, that's kind of where I would see the difference. I think that the 90D is 20% brighter is what people are saying. So I don't know. Like that would be an interesting comparison to see. I didn't have time to get the S90C this year to compare them both. There's just so many different TVs available that I had to check out first. That's a good question though. Wow, this thing is just destroying me. What the heck? Um, but yeah, no, that's a really, really great question. I would say S90C probably doesn't have these issues. And I think they will get fixed in a firmware update though. It's just the way that tone mapping is. I'm a big fan of the S95D and the way that they tone map. Although it is still aggressive compared to like depends on the content you're watching, honestly. But it compared to the G4, it does seem to be like there's scenes where the G4 will look brighter because of that tone mapping. Is taking it down in the S95D. But yeah, I mean that's really good. Good question, Luke. Thank you for the super chat. Hopefully, I tried to answer your question. If you want me to elaborate on it more, just type it in chat. If you didn't get the right answer, LGs look better on Elden Ring in my opinion. I think so too, because like I don't know, they just do. I don't have a. I was gonna go into a reason, and I'm like, I actually don't have a reason for it. So far, I thought the G4 Elden Ring looked better as well. But there's not much stressing going on. The crab. Die crab. But you can see, like, when you don't challenge the TVs, they look very similar. So now let's show you Sea of Thieves. The fire is way better on the S90D? Yeah, no, for sure. And then the B4 is better than the C4 with the fire as well. Speaking of fire, we're going to see some fire in a second. We're going to see some fire. I'll show you some fire. I think the loading screens are on SDR, so don't judge the loading screens. I didn't set up a SDR on either TV yet. We'll get into that. Sounds like the choice is between S95D and G4 this year. Yeah, for premium TVs, I think that is the choice. And I mean, like, you throw A95L in there as well. But yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting. A lot of people are like, "Hey, don't write off the Bravia 9." I'm not writing off the Bravia 9. I'm not. I'm gonna get the Bravia 9. We're gonna see it. We're definitely gonna look at the Bravia 9 in depth. I got some flickering going on camera. That's not actually there. So that's kind of a bummer. Let me see if I can get rid of that. Chill out, camera. The AI processors on TVs are likely trained to enhance stuff like fire. I doubt the AI processing is on in game mode. That would use a lot of, yeah. I doubt that's on. There's some processing on, I'm sure, and again, flickering. Don't pay attention to it. Please. Ignore it. Let's go to some fire. The fire. All right, so this is HGIG. We'll go through some different tone mapping modes in a second. You see why I recommend the S90D, guys? But anyway, let's see. I believe we do see some clipping. So again, this is recommended to take it down. So let's take it down to 45. We get our details back a little bit. Still don't get our details back all the way. That's just a negative downside. Nothing you could do about it. So let's just keep it at 48. You're going to clip some details sometimes on the S90D. It's just what it is. Oh, right. Maybe my in-game settings are also causing that. So yeah, no, see, it's not supposed to be at 1500 nits. Can't do that. So as you can see, they start to clip at 1000. The C4 clips at 1000, I think. The B4 clips at 800. Yeah, 800 is where the HDR max brightness is for Sea of Thieves on this one. And then 1000 on both the S90D and the C4. Although, yeah. So we'll just keep it at 1000. We got some of our details back, but they're still not there all the way. Let's see if we can get them back if we go to 45 contrast. A little bit. We'll stay at 45. You do lose HDR impact when you reduce contrast, so keep that in mind. Even when we lose contrast, or even when we reduce contrast and lose HDR impact, we still got more HDR impact by far on the S90D in game mode. All right, we're gonna go through these colors in a second. Yeah, S90D just clips details. That's just one of the things that you gotta have, like 45, 48 contrast. Unfortunately. Downside, they could fix that. It's a minor issue in my opinion, but it can be a large issue if you really are looking at TV side by side, because it does make the S90D look significantly a little bit dimmer. But when it's by itself, it's not gonna hurt that much. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it off for dynamic tone mapping, so I can show you guys this, and then I'll toggle on professional mode and stuff too. So we have them off now. I want to show you that toggling between game optimizer, filmmaker mode does give you your color brightness a little bit more on the C4. Although, you know, you still can't match the S90D. But yeah, you do get the color brightness back. So there's that. Let's see how the B4 performs when we do that. I hope you guys are enjoying the comparison so far. I'm trying to do my best to just kind of explain the biggest difference between these TVs. And I think a big difference is definitely game mode, where we have to evaluate, we have to show this. If we don't show this, I don't feel like I'm doing my job. So you can see I'm switching from game optimizer to filmmaker mode. I'm not losing anything going to filmmaker mode, but I'm not gaining anything. You see what I'm saying? So that's the biggest difference. Now let's go ahead and put on the professional mode toggle. So you get some of that brightness back. You see that? So this is where, like, again, where I keep going back to professional mode, use it on games sometimes. You definitely want to use it on games sometimes. All right. Because even at like 40 or 30, and keep in mind the 4000 mastering is the one you'll want to change when you're in console games, because the console does not send metadata to the TV. It's always 4000. So keep that in mind. So yeah, you could see that. But again, let's go back to HGIG to evaluate these TVs. Oh gosh. Okay. I thought I messed it up. Because there would be no reason other than to use the professional toggle. So we'll go back to HGIG. C4 has green tint on whites. It's mainly just a camera for that question or that statement. All right, let's go to advanced. Yeah, somebody asked me a question earlier, is QD OLED better than W OLED? Absolutely. Like, that's the better technology. It just depends on how you use it. It depends on how they're using it. Yeah, I'm getting some flickering in darker scenes. Let's get out of the dark. We're still in the dark. We're still in the dark. All right, so unfortunately, we're still in the dark. So yeah, that's why we're gonna see some flickering on the S90D. That's unfortunate. Hey, look at the image retention. Do you see that on the B4 and the C4? Look at that. Look at the image retention from the fire on the C4 and the B4. I was like, what is that? What is that? That's what that is. Because I'm like in a total dark area now. And you can see the image retention. Like I said, it looks like dirty screen effect or something on your TV that shouldn't be there. So yeah, that's the temporary image retention. It's starting to go away on the C4. Actually, let's start there. Like, the whole entire scene is like on my TV. Like, the image retention is starting to fade away now on the B4. Interesting that it holds longer on the C4. It's still there. I can still see it. Again, flickering is the camera, and then nothing I can do about it. Nothing I can do about it on these dark scenes. What I can do is try to load a different map for you guys. Oh, this is actually a really good example of like one of the issues with the C4. Do you see the banding in game mode here on the C4? Look at that. On the middle of the screen on the bottom, do you see that? The C4 has this banding issue. The B4 doesn't have it as much. Actually, a B4 is pretty clean. Look at that. That's pretty fascinating, I think. Again, ignore the flashing on the S90D, please. But yeah, you can see issues on the C4 that aren't there on the B4. So if you guys didn't know this, the B4 is using a new processor called the Alpha 8, which is new for 2024. And the C4 is using the Alpha 9. It's a newer generation of the Alpha 9, but I think it still does probably have a lot of its downsides still. Pretty crazy to see that. That's crazy. Like I didn't notice that before, but now I'm noticing it. But this is actually the first time I tested Sea of Thieves, so let me see if I can find more examples of that. As we get out of the brightness, we shouldn't be flashing as much. As we get out of the dark mode, we shouldn't be flashing as much. Let me adjust the camera a little bit. There's a C4 roast right now. It's not. I'm not trying to. It's just I don't see a reason to get the C4 at the moment. I'm not a fan. For game mode, specifically. Outside of game mode, it's fine. All right. We're going to start to get into some brightness. There's the sun. See a little bit of banding around the sun on both the C4 and the B4. The luminance on the sun is brighter on the C4 as it's white in the white point. But the whole entire sun is white. Whereas the S90D, that's not the case. C4 did not get the low luminance posterization flickering fix that G4 did and likely the B4 did. Yeah. I don't know exactly what they did. It must have something to do with the processor and the way that they do it, or something. I don't know. Because yeah, like you said, I don't see it. I do see more like color banding around the rings of the sun right here on the B4 though. I'll say that. I'll give the C4 that. I don't. Do you see the image retention again? Man, that is annoying. Look at that. It looks like I got like a dirty screen effect. I'm gonna keep noticing that. I'm not gonna not notice it. Let's look at the sky banding right now. I gotta look a little bit closer at the TVs. They're both doing it. Although the C4 is more. You can see a little bit on the S90D too, but it's cleaner on the S90D. The C4 and the B4 are definitely having a little bit more bands there. But they both have it. Even the S90D has it here too. S90D does have it here as well. And so like there's gonna be some times where you don't, you can't do anything about it. That's why you know what? I just realized the reason why we're seeing banding around the sun on the B4 is because we are in a HDR mode that's outside of its capabilities. So it's starting to blow out the sun and the blowout rings. That's why we're seeing that only on the B4. So I wonder if I blow out the sun on all of them. So let's go to 1500 nits. That should blow out the sun on all of them. Yeah. Yeah, I can see the same banding um on the C4 now as I did on the B4. There's too many TVs with 4 in the name. All right, so if you're playing Sea of Thieves or console games in general, 800 is where you're going to want to sit at for the B4. Although that looks like maybe too much. Oh no, that's fine. Let's go back to 1000 though, because we'll just have to take the B4 clipping a bit. Man, look at this. Do you see the image retention on the B4 and the C4? Mostly on the C4 though. What the heck? Why is that so? I was barely in the menu for a second. You see that? I was barely. It's this screen right here. It's this max brightness screen. So if I just set this on there for a second, and now that you could see the S90D, by the way, since I lowered contrast, can actually go to 1100 now. But we're gonna keep it at 1000. Yeah, but actually you could go to 1200 on the S90D when you have 45 contrast. Am I at 45 contrast? Let's try 48. Yeah, I was at 45. Let's try 48. Okay, so now it's clipping at 1000 properly on 48. So between actually would say that 48 clips too much. I would go to 47 because on 950, look, I start to blow it out, and then 1000 is where I lose it. So I would go 47 contrast in game mode. All right, now let's see if we can see this image retention again. Yep, look at that. You see a little bit. You can see a little bit on S90D if you pay attention. It's there, but it looks like there's a window on my screen. All right, it's gone from the S90D. Let's see how long it takes. All right, it's gone from the B4. Oh no, it's still there. I still see it on camera. It's gone in person though. It's like very faint in person. It's still there on the C4. Starting to fade on the B4. So yeah, if you're in game mode on the S90D, definitely 47 contrast seems to be a nice spot. Okay. They're both now gone. Oh, nope. You can still see it on the C4. You can sort of see it on the B4. I don't see it on the S90D anymore. It's still there on the C4. I was hoping that it would go away by now. That is very distracting. I will say that because it makes it look like you have dirty screen effect going on your TV. Throws me off, man. So if you're looking at something bright or you have something bright on the screen and you suddenly switch your viewpoint to something that's dark or plain blue or something, you definitely notice it. God, that's crazy, right? It's crazy. Another example of like just really high luminance games. Man, look at the S90D right now. Separates, clearly separates. This is why I get mad when I hear reviews where like C4 in this price range is definitely the best one to get. It's like, no, it's not. Stop saying that, please. Please stop saying that. And I respect all the other reviewers, but some of them don't do their job in game mode enough to be making that recommendation. And when I say reviewers, I'm talking about like blogs and stuff like that, and places that don't review TVs usually. You know, they just do the run of the mill like tech reviews, and then sometimes do TVs. Like they're just spitting out what everybody else is spitting out. And that's what upsets me. Like when I look at reviews like that, I'm like, come on, man. You guys are just gonna put them in an inferior TV when it comes down to game mode. Quantum Dot OLED is for gaming. That is what I will say. I would say G4 with MLAs for gaming as well. I like that TV a lot for gaming. C4? No. No. No, 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 no. Don't do it. Now, here's the thing. 48 inch, 42 inch, you don't got a choice. You really don't got a choice. So I can get it there. I can understand it there. Like I'm probably gonna get a 42 inch C4 from Classy, calibrated by Classy. So I'm not like saying the C4 is trash. I'm just saying don't get don't get a C4 over an S90D if you're gaming. Like, please don't. I saw something earlier in chat about thermal throttling or something like that. With the S95D, I didn't experience that at all personally. To answer your question, I thought it was far and away clear to me that the S95D was the more capable TV than the S90D. It wasn't close to me. I seen them separate with my eyes. I I don't know how anybody could say the S90D is better than the S95D. Is it worth the price difference? Oh, that's a bigger question for you than it is for me to decide. I think there's enough separation there. Like I think the G4 and the S95D stand on their own in all the TVs that were released so far this year. The S95D and the G4 are definitely standing on their own of all the TVs released so far this year. Is pushing the G2 brightness without a heatsink on the C4? You know, I remember you saying that like it was close to the G2's brightness level. And like we go back to this, I'm just gonna look at the sun for a second. Yeah, that makes sense, Classy. That would make sense why we're seeing more image retention on the C4. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, the C4, the white brightness there, woo, that's pretty bright. Looks good. Looks good. It gets close to the S90D in the actual brightness, although the S90D is still just it looks like the brighter TV in game mode. It's not even close for me. But again, look at that. I wasn't even looking at it that long, and it's there. You can see a little white circle on the screen. It's not on the B4. Well, yeah, it's a little bit. A little bit. A little bit. But now I got a white circle on my screen. I'm gonna show the window again just to demonstrate that. Let me actually record this clip so I could show people. Like you can see the white definitely brighter on the C4 than it is on the B4 and on the S90D. Exactly. SB, exactly. I'm not saying the C4 isn't good for gaming. I'm saying that if you look at it compared to the TVs of the other price, the same price, it's not good for gaming if you look at it in that regard. If you get a C4 and you game with it, you don't have any other TVs around it, you're going to have an amazing experience. You're like, oh yeah, this is good. But that's not what my job is. My job is to compare the TVs and tell you which one is better. And this is not a subjective thing. To me, it's objectively just better in game mode. Like, I don't see anybody can see these TVs and say it differently. Like, I just don't see it. Like, how can you say that? You know what I mean? Um, so that's the way I look at it. And here is the image retention test again. Again, you see it on the S90D, starting to fade away. So it goes away pretty quick. It lingers, fades away. And this actually, it's like a double-edged sword right now. You could see banding in this guy for all the TVs as well. Definitely more on the C4. Started to fade away now a little bit on the B4. Yeah, and I'm glad you put that comment there, SB, because yeah, I'm not saying the C4 sucks. I'm not saying that. I'm definitely not saying that. I'm just saying, like, S90D is better than the C4 for gaming. That's what I'm saying. We're gonna get some more content other than gaming. I think we've kind of done gaming. We'll have to also explore SDR in a second for gaming. I plan to go maybe 3 hours with this stream. Because I just want to be able to cut it up. I don't want to miss any content with these TVs. Because I think this is going to be one of those price brackets that's going to get talked about a lot this year. Look at the gradients in the sky, by the way. This is an example where maybe you do want to use professional mode on the C4 to get that back. Maybe this is a game where you would want to use it. Let's see if we can get some of that color back. For all the people saying don't use professional mode. Uh-oh, we lost it. We lost that advantage to see it. Now it's not going to show it as much. Actually, HGIG does a really good job. Because, but you could see the sun. Look at the sun. But compared to HGIG, we're definitely getting the colors back inside the sun. But the gradients of the sky aren't changing much. Do you see that? So yeah, like, HGIG is not perfect, but it is still really good. I think professional mode's a really good gaming mode, in my opinion. If you don't like what HGIG does, then just use professional mode and kind of tweak it from there. But again, we'll just keep it in HGIG to keep it fair with everything else. Look at that. Look at the image retention. Dang it. Why? That's going to be so annoying. God, that's going to be so annoying. And we got the flickering back because it's a night scene on the S90D. I'm not trying to show you image retention. I was actually just trying to show you the sun. You could actually see the gradients from the sunset on the image retention as well. So you see the sunset and then the gradients around it. That is wild, bro. What are we doing? Like, what are we doing? It's driving me nuts. I'm getting upset. I'm getting physically and emotionally upset about this image retention problem here. Not that it's like gonna cause you issues. It's annoying. It might cause you to say that it's annoying. If you do a lot of scene changes with things hanging on the screen sometimes. I wonder how that does in content in movies and stuff. I wonder if image retention ever pops up there. We'll have to test that. Zelda for SDR, please. I'll try. I'll see what I can do. You're causing me to hook up another console. I like to do everything on one console at a time. Like, I have a PS4 right here as well. Like, I can hook up the PS4 as well. There would be a 4-hour stream. But whatever. I don't care. Like I said, it's 6:35. That's why I started earlier today. Because I know this is gonna be one of those streams where people come back. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. If you leave, do come back. All right. So we showed you Sea of Thieves. We've seen this. All right. Now let's go to some SDR gaming. Okay. Let's find something that is different than Turtles. Let's go with Evil West. This is SDR. I haven't set up my SDR yet. Don't judge it. Don't judge it. Don't you judge it. It's easy to set up SDR to show, so I'm just gonna go ahead. Original. There we go. Original. Contrast 38. Everything else should be just regular game mode here. I think I probably have to change the color temperature. Maybe. Nope. Not on that one. This one though. For sure. I could see it. My eyes don't lie. All right. It's flickering. I know. I know. Maybe this isn't a good game to show. All right, so this is SDR. SDR game mode definitely looks a little bit better on the C4 than it did on the C3 this year. I'll give them that. I didn't even want a cutscene. I just wanted to... How do I skip the cutscene, dude? I don't want a cutscene. I don't want to see a cutscene. Okay, skip it. Yep, there you go. Continue. All right. Let's try not to trigger the cutscene because I just wanted to show you this. All right, we'll just do that. I think the B4 looks better of the three here. Oh, looked better of the three. For what? For which one are you talking about, random? If somebody super chats $20, they'll hook up another console. Sure. All right, yeah, fine, I'll do that. I guess. I mean, I'm probably gonna do it either way. Or maybe I'm not. I don't know. We'll see. But if you guys do want to super chat $20, I'm not gonna say no. But I'm gonna hook it up regardless, probably. Is Evil West good? Worth buying? I wouldn't buy it. I would just get Game Pass. It's on Game Pass. I don't buy games anymore. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I don't really buy games anymore unless it's a game I really want. Like Elden Ring DLC, for example. I'm gonna buy that. I'm gonna buy that for sure. But like other games, I don't really buy games no more. Just to double check to see filmmaker mode. Yeah, you can get some good brightness out of that. It's not much different though. I want to show you that peak brightness is locked. I actually haven't checked if the B4 is locking peak brightness. I would be shocked if it wasn't, but seen crazier things happen. What did I just do? What did I just do? What the heck did I just do? I don't even know what menu that was, but I can't get it back. Yeah, everything's locked, peak brightness wise. Another reason why you get the S90D for gaming. I don't think I need to like beat a dead horse with this game mode anymore. I think we pretty much established the S90D is just a better TV in game mode, in gaming in general, with games in mind. Even if you play with ALLM on, the S90D is just better still. So, all right, let's go to what can I do with this? Um, Here, let me put this up for a sec, and I'm gonna pop open some Aquaman scene. Sure, yeah. Well, let's look at Aquaman real fast. I have that on the, the Xbox, so that's why I wanna load that before I go into the demos, so we don't have to keep going back and forth. I didn't show you dynamic tone mapping on gaming. That's right. I might have to do that if we have time later. We'll get to Q&A in a little bit as well. One second. I'm gonna give my camera a chance to cool down while I'm switching content. So while I'm switching content, let's do a little bit of Q&A. Let's do a little bit of Q&A. While I'm switching the content. So if you guys got questions, now's the time. I'll be able to answer them. I'm gonna go to a scene that's like, I'm gonna find a really good high brightness scene. Let's go to filmmaker mode on both. I'll switch the camera on in a second. 1 second. Is there a lot of difference between the S90Z and the S90D? So, Classy told me that the S90D is about 20% brighter than the S90C in the 55-inch, 65-inch size. I haven't seen them side by side, so it's hard to say like if there's a huge difference there. I hate these LG remotes though, man. Not a fan. Not a fan of it. Alright. Dang it. Alright. Should be back. Should be back. I think my camera just went out of focus though. Let me fix that. All right, here is a scene from Aquaman. Oh, snap. Rock City Cowboy asks a question. Said, let me move that back. Will QD OLED make greater improvements for 2025 based on what you know? I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. So far, it seemed to be year-to-year improvement for QD OLED. You know, it was like the case where like every 2 years TVs would get better, but it seems like now every year TVs are getting better. That's kind of an unfortunate thing. Um, but in a way, like I like it because it advances technology, but it is unfortunate for people that buy TVs because it feels like your TV is out of like it's just not good faster, I guess. But I mean, your TV is always gonna be good. It's just not gonna be as good as like the top tier, right? And so that's the biggest thing. Oh, we got some super chats coming in. Thank you, Cipher, for the super chat. He says you really should add Cyberpunk 2077 to your comparisons. The color and vibrancy is on a different level. Yeah, I should. You're right. Um, I'm not very far in that game, so where I'm at, the color isn't like that great. I'd have to reinstall it. The reason why I don't have it installed is the stupidest reason. It is a huge game, and it takes up so much space on my hard drive, man. So, like, that's the reason why I don't have it installed. Now, eventually, we're gonna get to doing like more PC connected to the TV comparisons, and then we'll have to add Cyberpunk for sure once we get a really awesome graphics card. Thank you, Cypher, for that super chat. I really appreciate it. That's a good suggestion, though. Cyberpunk would be awesome. Luke, thank you for the super chat. He says, I struggle with gaming color banding on my QN90B. One of the reasons why I'm considering a Sony OLED. Smooth gradation in game mode would help. Tears of the Kingdom, Night Sky, even S90D has some banding when gaming. Really good point, Luke. In something like I think you mean Tears of the Kingdom. I'm not sure. I hope you do. But that's the only TOTK I know. But yeah, like good point. I really love gaming on Sony TVs for this reason. I guess I'm seeing which ones are dimming faster, which is interesting. To get back to your question, sorry, I got sidetracked. Yes, Sony OLEDs have smooth gradation in game mode. Really good. I like that. It has that. So the fact that you have that in game mode is a win for Sony, especially with SDR. There's a lot more banding, it seems like. So yeah, I really wish that Samsung would have a smooth gradation filter that they actually let you toggle instead of just putting it on by default. I mean, they're clearly doing something with the banding, but yeah, it's not it's not as it's not as controllable as Sony. And then game mode in general for LG, you can't use their smooth gradation filter. It doesn't work. So that's a bummer as well. But yeah, no, I don't blame you. So when I get the Bravia 8, I'm definitely going to do some SDR gaming comparisons as well. And Luke, thank you. I will put on the Nintendo Switch. Hopefully my controllers are charged before we wrap up. And if you miss it, definitely watch the replay and just watch the tail end of the stream. That's probably when I'll be doing it. Let me find another scene for you guys. So that wasn't really like the brightest scene in the world. All right, this scene's kind of tripping me out because I actually think the B4 looks the best. Like what? Am I doing something wrong? The B4 looks the best on this. S90D definitely has the best color, but like as far as just B4 looks the best here for some reason. I don't know why. Can't tell you why. It does though. But I know nobody wants to see Amber Heard. What the heck? What the heck am I doing? All right, let's find a scene without Amber Heard. No disrespect. Well, maybe some. I just know a lot of people don't like Amber Heard. I've heard it enough in chat. I know people are like, no, get Amber Heard out of here. I heard you. That was a bad joke. Did you see more luminance on the C4 here? So in like filmmaker mode, I think C4 is actually doing a better job than the S90D for like overall brightness. Let's find another bright scene though. I'm just like picking out random scenes from this movie. It's nothing like I didn't measure them, nothing like that. When it comes to my comparisons, I just show you things and then we judge them. Like that's it. My videos though, like I'll spend time on those, but like the streams, we do this on the fly and we have fun with it. Corny? Yeah, that was a corny joke. The Amber Heard joke? Yeah, I agree. Man, if I didn't get hit with copyright, I would just be streaming this part of the movie, but like I do get hit with copyright if I did, so I have to be very careful. All right, let's get to like a really bright scene that lights up my room. That's how I know I'm in a bright scene when I see a scene that lights up my room. There's one at the end. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, this one, the desert one, is really good. I showed that before. I'll show it again. This is an interesting one. But it's gonna be distracting because the color tint of the cameras. S90D looks the brightest here though for me. No Ninja Turtles? Dang, hating on the Ninja Turtles. You don't or wait, you don't want to see you want to see the Ninja Turtles? See, one guy was like, don't put on the Ninja Turtles, and I think you might actually want to see the Ninja Turtles. I'll do the Ninja Turtles before I switch off the console and before we go into demos. The desert scene would do it. Yeah, let's check out the desert scene. Good idea. That's coming up here. I can't see the details on the sun on the B4. On this one. You can see the details on the C4 and the S90D, but you can't see it on the C4. And honestly, the S90D is maybe even clipping a bit too. So yeah, definitely want to take that down to 48, 47. Actually, I like 47 better than 48. About the same. For game mode though, 47 is where I'm landing. All right, let's go deeper into this scene actually. I mean, I don't know. C4 looks really bright on the scene. C4 is looking really bright right here. Again, don't judge the camera tinting and all that. Samsung skips drops frames on scene changes panning. Most won't see it or be bothered by it, but if you do see it, it can be an issue. Yeah, I, I'm one of those like I don't really see it that much, but I see it when I'm just like scanning through content and I hit play. I'm like, ah, man, there's a little skip. But like when I'm actually watching the content, I don't really see it. Though I imagine there's some movies probably where it's really annoying if there's a lot of scene changes and a lot of panning in a movie or something. Yeah, it's gonna stick out to some people more than others. That's the thing about motion. That's why I try not to talk about motion as much because everybody has their own opinion on motion and the way they do motion is different, right? Um Again, like if you look at the clouds here on the B4, they're definitely clipping, blowing out the clouds. So C4 is doing a good job of retaining that. Let's go further into the scene. There's a scene towards the end that I want to show you. This is a really good example of how you actually get the details retained and really bright highlights for the S90D if you set the contrast right. Like, look, you can actually see the sun, and it's blown out on everything else. So this is the tone mapping. Even when you have it at 50 contrast, you can see the sun still. It's pretty fascinating to see the different behaviors on how TVs tone map and stuff. John Smith with a super chat says, "Thanks for Ninja Turtles. Thanks for ninjas and best content." Thank you, John. I appreciate that. We'll get to Ninja Turtles right after this. I promise. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Thank you for the continued support. Also, I always see you in the chat, so or in the comments as well. Thank God I don't notice stuff like that. Then yeah, same here, man. I'm not very sensitive to motion issues at all. I will say this though. I will say this. Um, Before I say this, look at the B4 how it's like losing the details. There's like no details in the sky right now. C4 actually got a little bit, and then S90D has the most being retained here. When it comes down to motion, I do notice motion issues on Hisense TVs. I do. They have some weird motion issues. So that's like the biggest sensitivity that I've had to motion so far is with the Hisense. I'm scared to advance the frame because I think it might have image retention. Let's see if it would. Not really noticing. Oh, no, not really. You would see it here if it had it. Looks like to be really only a game mode issue. Yeah, I don't see it. That's good. So image retention seems to be something that I only noticed so far on game mode. The S90D looks really good in this movie. I don't know what it is. QD OLED in this movie. It's fantastic. I need a close up on this guy's face so I can show you a little bit more in depth. Paused for this long would trigger dimming. Yeah, good point. Yeah, so I really like what the S90D is doing on this scene. Let me see if I could get my camera to work a little bit better. On the C4, my camera's starting to clip on the water dude. So the water dude's very bright, according to my camera. Yeah, they don't look as bad as they do on camera. I'll say that. They look closer in person. All right, let's get to two or three more things. Oh, that one. Wow, the B4 actually is holding its own here. But look at the C4's brightness and the S90D's brightness here. It really does stick out. C4 is a bright TV. Don't get me wrong. Like what Classy said that it seems to be very similar on par to the G2 in that regard. All right. There's a scene at the end I really want to show you. I need to see part 2 of this movie. Did anybody see part 2? Is it good? Is it bad? I mean, lately superhero movies, pretty bad. Pretty bad. I don't know what it is about them lately, but gosh, they are bad lately. This movie is dope. I love this movie though. Hmm. Trying to find the scene. Bear with me. After this scene, we're gonna go Turtles, and then we're gonna a few YouTube demos, and then maybe PS5, or well, Nintendo Switch first. Then, if we have time, PS5. We're cutting it close. This scene's pretty bright. Seems like this seems pretty bright. I don't know if it is or not. Just looks bright. All right. Oh, you can't even see it because I still have that thing up. My bad. Let me fix that. Let's fix that. That's a fail. It's a really bright scene. B4 can't really do it. There's like no details. There's another scene just like that at the coming up here. I believe when the lady rises out of the water. Should be right here. This is a bright scene. Yeah, but that's a good point. Post Infinity War superhero movies are all almost all garbage. Yeah, so far, so that has been the case, huh? Yeah, cargo plane scene is cool too. I was trying to show it, but I skipped it, and that's an unfortunate thing. B4 does really good still. I mean, like it is noticeably dimmer, but like if it was on its own, I think you would like what the B4 is giving you here. I believe this movie is 4,000 maybe nits mastering. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. Could be wrong. But all right, let's go to YouTube demos. Oh, Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles first. Really quickly, Ninja Turtles. That won't take long. Um, let's make sure it all is in game mode. Yep, game mode on all of them. S90D is clearly the brightest on this one for sure. That's not a surprise though. That we expected that SDR game mode is just the automatic victory for the S90D. The game mode in general is automatic victory for the S90D. So I think I've already kind of established that. Man, when I was a kid, playing in the arcade and stuff, dude, Turtles in Time was the game. I don't know how old I was. I was probably about 5 or 6 or something, but Turtles in Time was just like amazing. This is sort of like Turtles in Time, honestly. They did a good job with this game. Yeah. You know what's crazy though is they could actually it could probably even kill it even more if they fixed it like a lot of the things with the game mode. It's not the end of the world though. A lot of the issues with game mode, they're addressable. It'd just be nice if you didn't have to tweak certain things to make game mode not have these issues. SDR game mode does pretty fire. Samsung always has the best SDR game mode, even better than like in terms of giving you like all the color, all the luminance. Just if you like bright SDR, some people don't. All right, some people don't. Some people really don't like gaming SDR. I watch SDR dimmer than I game in SDR. I do. So like when I watch SDR, then I turn down my brightness a lot. And it really does depend on the game I'm playing. Like if I'm playing Zelda, I do have my SDR brightness not that high. So but if I'm playing a game like this, I want it to be as bright as possible. I want it to be as colorful as possible. Um things like that. So really does depend on the type of game I'm playing. It just turns out a lot of the games I play in SDR on the Xbox, I do want them just to be at the maximum brightness. That said, I think that the C4 and the B4 are probably good enough for a lot of people. It's not, I just wouldn't get it over the S90D there. Okay, so we've shown you turtles. Now let's go to some YouTube demos. All right, one sec. I just hooked up the Apple TV. Let's run through some of the LG demos first. Ah. I would show you sound, but I don't know what to play. And I don't know how good my camera would capture sound either. So there's that. Let me know if the camera's clipping or something. I think it looked good so far. Let's double check, make sure everything is not in game mode. Filmmaker. 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 And with the demos, I'll also show you the other modes as well. Are you watching this on your B7 now? See, people gotta stop with the B7, and if you're talking about Bravia 7, because there's a B7 OLED. Like Classy was talking about this earlier. It's like when we were talking about LG OLEDs at the time, and somebody mentions a B7, that's where my mind's going to. I know what most people mean, but the fact that there's people probably watching this on a B7 right now, on an LG B7. So yeah, hopefully they start saying like XR70 more. But I know what you mean. It's XR70, XR80, XR90. But everybody's gonna keep saying B7, B8, B9. It's not going away. That's not going away. Just get used to it. I hate it, but yeah. Yeah, those are the model numbers. Let's go to the Hawaii demo first. Let's skip this demo. Let's go to Hawaii. I think S90D sticks out to me in this demo as well. They both look good though. So props to the C4 though, because it does a way better job than the C3 did last year versus the S90C. Like it's just doing a way better job. Where the C3 just kind of got annihilated by the S90C. High Def News is not gonna stop using B7, B8, B9, so you could pry that from my cold dead hands. Nobody's gonna stop using it. I might not even stop using it. I gotta stop using it because it messes me up when I read it. But I've been guilty of saying it too. So while we're going through these demos, I'm gonna just put the Q&A thing up. Oh god, not that big. let's let's just put it right here so you can know, like, so people know they can ask questions and stuff. Again, just type your questions in chat. I'll answer all the questions that I see. If they look like they're intended for me, I'll answer them. And yeah, that's all you have to do. If you want to support the channel and leave a super chat, that's always greatly appreciated, but you don't have to do that. It's not necessary. Oh yeah, gotta talk about the upcoming sales. There is going to be some fire sales this week. I've seen some things. I cannot say what I've seen because I am under NDA kind of on some prices. But if these prices turn out to be true, my God, There's gonna be some crazy some deals on some. They're not OLEDs, but that's all I'll say. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. But there is going to be some OLED deals as well. So if you guys don't know, Memorial Week sales are coming up this week. So hold off on on buying unless you're buying from Best Buy. If you buy from Best Buy, it doesn't matter when you buy because you can always like price match, and it's easy to get that price back. I did it on the U7N. They dropped the price on that. I got a $200 adjustment like right away. But yeah, no, there's gonna be some nice TV sales. Definitely gonna have to make a video about that. You could say, yeah, Classy knows as well. He said one could say that it's a big deal. Yeah, that's all the teasing that I can do for that. Someone is going to list their 65-inch B9 OLED on eBay and make a profit. You know, it's actually funny. Like I don't know if you're talking about because it has the ability to do the 120 hertz black frame insertion, but my C1 48-inch does that. And I was joking that I could probably even sell that for more than what I could sell a lot of the other TVs that I have for, because there's a lot of people looking for 120 hertz black frame insertion on an OLED still. Since you don't have that ability no more, I believe the C1 has it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I might be wrong, but I think it does have it. I know my A80J has it. But yeah, I don't know. Classy, does the C1 have 120 hertz black frame insertion? I think it does. Right? Because the A80J has it. That's the same year as the A80J. So they both have it, I believe. God, the C4 looks good. So does the S90D. For content, I think the C4 definitely is better than the B4. I think for gaming, if you're just gaming, you might be better off getting a B4 and saving money. But at that point, it's like, get the S90C, get the S90D. Like, gaming should just not, at that price range, go to LG ever. A strong statement, I know, but I'm sticking by it. G4 going on sale? Ooh, I don't know. Actually, I haven't seen any details on that yet. So I haven't seen all the deals. I've only seen a few deals, select deals. All right, let's see. Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. The B9. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get why you're talking about the B9 65. I get it. See, I'm a little slow, but I get it now. You're talking about because of the naming thing, right? Okay. I see. This sucks. Like, I'm so confused most of the time with these. S95C gonna be on sale when? Yeah, S95C probably will be on sale. When? I don't know. I'm not sure. It's a good question. Let me look. Sunday night, 12 a.m. midnight. Not Sunday night. Sorry, Monday night. Monday morning, 12 a.m. 11:59 p.m. Pacific time, Sunday night. In a minute from that, then you should see sales go live. Luke, thank you for the super chat. How's movie dynamic range gradation? DR? I don't know what DR gradation is. Dynamic range gradation, maybe? On this S90D, better than the G4. Vincent's review suggested minor gradation issues with the G4. Hmm. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I don't think I've tested that. HDR gradation. Oh, yeah. Yes, it's better than the G4. Yeah, for sure. If you're talking about like posterization, whatever you want to call it. Some people say posterization, the same thing. But yeah, color banding and all that with the gradation, it's a little bit more on the G4. You definitely would need to use smooth gradation. Although here's the thing about smooth gradation on the G4, there are some downsides that you can run into. Classy can elaborate that on more than I can with smooth gradation on the G4. But yeah, Samsung's gradients are smooth, both in 8-bit and 10-bit. I hate this demo. I thought they took this off, but let's go through the Wild 2. And now let's skip the Wild 2 because let's go to the nature. Does smooth gradation eliminate the banding? It starts to clean it up. It doesn't fully eliminate it. I think medium, it starts to go away a lot. Like below, there you can still see banding on low. Like Sony, for example, even when you have their smooth gradation off, it's still on. Like it's just they always have it on, no matter what. But then when you engage the other settings, it just takes it even further. For Sony, anyway. And with the Samsung's smooth gradation, they don't have a setting. It's just always on. And so maybe that's why some fine details are scrubbed away a little bit. I don't know. I do think that sometimes the Samsungs don't look as sharp in certain scenes. So maybe that has something to do with it because they do have the smooth gradation, decontouring, whatever it is, on for the Samsung by default. Would you get a 83-inch QD OLED classy? I think you would if they existed. They don't exist though. There is no 83-inch QD OLED. SDR doesn't get bright on the A95L if that's what you're looking for. Are you talking about game mode? Or are you talking about outside of game mode? Because yeah, outside. I guess yeah, outside of game mode. I haven't seen the A95L versus these contenders, so I can't really say. I'm gonna have to restart my Apple TV. Cool. Um, but yeah, no, I haven't seen it against the contenders. But I'll tell you, like the S90C's game mode, for example, was brighter than the A95L's SDR game mode. One sec. Bro. I really need to check what generation this Apple TV is. I have multiple, and I don't know which one I grabbed, but I'm definitely gonna have to swap it out. You think I would do that by now? But getting my Sony remote to sync to an Apple TV is the biggest pain in the butt ever that I don't want to switch it. But if I have to, I guess I have to. Let's go through some Samsung demos. Oh. I like this one. Yeah, Samsung definitely has the brightest capable SDR game modes. It's not close. Luke, thank you for the super chat. He says, noticed any of the weird dark scene auto dimming on the S90D? The beach scene in House of Dragons seemed to trigger it on all prior OLEDs. Yeah, you might run into that issue. I haven't tested that enough, to be honest with you. I need to test it a little bit more. Trying to think of something YouTube demo related that I could test it with, that I could show. But that's a really good point. S90C did this, S95C did this, S95B did this. It does seem like those lower luminance scenes definitely trigger some dimming to occur. As soon as you switch the scene, it should go away, but there's times where it does linger and it makes the whole entire like scene that you're watching look really dark. I think all OLEDs have this to a certain degree, unless you turn it off in the service menu or something. But yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but that doesn't mean that it's not there. So if I could find something to test, we can do that. The problem is I can't test anything copyright related unless we just pause it on the screen. But if we pause it on the screen, then it's definitely going to dim, because all the OLEDs are going to dim when you pause something on the screen for a while. But that's a really good question. I will look into that even further. So if you want to, like, after this stream, write some things in the comments about some scenes to test out, and I will test them out off stream and give you the results. You're talking about ASBL. Yeah, he's talking about ASBL. Yeah. Yep. S90D is really awesome on this demo. I love that. The colors and stuff really just pop. They just pop. By the way, this is filmmaker mode. You know, the dullest, dimmest, darkest mode there is. Sorry, I didn't want to yell at you guys. I didn't want to yell at the microphone. I just wanted to make a point. Like, come on. Oh yeah, no problem, Luke. Thank you for the support, man. I really appreciate the support. It means a lot. Look at the C4. Does a really good job. This is where the B4 will struggle in, like, you know, high APL, these kind of demos. C4 looks good. There is times, like Classy pointed out, there is times where the C4 will be brighter than the S90D. Those scenes are, like, definitely hard for me to find so far. I'm sure there are some movies though, especially the way that the TV is tone mapping and the way that it, you know, uses the mastering display luminance and all that. Like, yeah, there's times. Oh, this camera just said, whoa. Let me make sure my camera didn't die and it just overheated. So let's go for Q&A. We hit the 3-hour mark. Yeah, we've done it. All right, we're gonna do Q&A now. Let me pop myself on the screen. So, all right. Oh, Q&A thing's covering my face. All right. So, not that big. I don't want to be that big. So let's get to some Q&A. So, a couple of things. Let me look through chat. If you guys have questions, now's the time to type it. Appreciate everybody for stopping by so far, man. You guys have been amazing. We're gonna wrap it up here soon because the camera has reached its end. It has reached its end. We could probably squeeze a little bit more out of it in a second, but just consider this like wrap up time. So if you gotta go, you gotta go. You don't have questions, you know, you can leave. It's fine. You can leave either way, but I'm just saying, like, you're not gonna miss anything crazy. I'm just answering questions right now. Classy, didn't you say, I can't remember, you said this to me one time and it totally lost track of it, never tested it. But you said that Samsung has a sharpness setting that you could say looks like reality creation. I swear you said that. I swear you said that. I don't know if I'm just tripping. Maybe you didn't say that. But what was that? What setting was that? I can't remember. I'm gonna shrink myself a little more so you don't notice the Apple quality camera. W stream, W takes. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hopefully they're helpful to people. Nope, you didn't say that. Okay. Or maybe you didn't say that. I swear you said it, but it must have been somebody else. Cause I didn't think that was a thing. For the LG, there's super resolution, but that's nothing like a reality creation to me personally. Nothing like it doesn't work like that to me. It doesn't. I personally don't see it. God. I gotta show you this scene. My God. Alright, hold on. You gotta see this scene. If I could squeeze out a little bit more, you gotta at least see this scene. I don't know what kind of camera they captured this with, but God, it looks good on like every TV I throw it at, but especially like the S90D. I can see why Samsung picked this scene. Hold on real quick. Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be sharp enough, but hopefully that's sharp. Look at the S90D, man. To me, when I'm looking at this just straight on right now, the S90D is just on a different level with this scene. What do you guys think? Do you see it? To me, in person, it definitely sticks out. See how much we could squeeze out of it while we do the Q&A. Maybe we could squeeze out some more footage. C4 is definitely better than the C3. Although, like, if you're looking at prices right now, you wouldn't get a C4. Can't think of a way you would get a C4 unless it's 48, 42 inch, right? Because there's the G3, there's all the Samsung OLEDs. Like, price wise, C4 makes 0 sense. I'm gonna say that again. C4 makes 0 sense at this current price tag. Maybe Samsung brings tandem OLED. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. Not to TVs. That kind of technology is only capable, like right now, only possible on what do you call it? I forget what you call it. Small screens. Just lost my train of thought. This one right here. So, oh god, I wanted to show you the HDR color thing, but camera is like, nope. All right, so maybe another time. I don't know. I'll have the C4 and the B4 for a little bit. So, yeah, Classy, that's exactly, I was gonna show the pro tone mapping. So this whole time I've been showing it without it because, you know, I've been doing out of the box comparison. But I demonstrated it earlier that, you know, when you're using 4000, for some reason, Classy, this was not working at all on 1000. Like, really on the C4, the B4, it had no effect. On the B4 and the C4, 4000 clips faster than the G4 ever did, like way faster. So you definitely are, you know, not going to be able to use it to the same extent. But yeah, I was going to show professional mode toggled on for the C4 and the B4, where you can get the colors to look closer to the S90D. And that's one of the things, like, we've been trying to tell you on stream for the last couple of weeks, that, like, yes, QD OLED is better than WOLED, but there's also something more to it with the colors. Like, there's also the fact that the tone mapping is very aggressive, and we will be losing colors on an LG OLED on its default tone mapping mode with tone mapping set to off. So, yeah, that's like a really good point. Yeah, that's why C4 isn't looking brighter. Need a fan pointing at the A7C2. I don't have the A7C2. This is still the A7C. I didn't get the A7C2 because it was overheating faster than my A7C1. So I gotta definitely get the Pro Sony camera, Sony FX series. I'm against trying to get the FX30 because of the APS-C classy. I don't know, man, but maybe it's worth it just for streams. Or I bite the bullet and buy the FX3. I'm trying to hold out for like the next big Sony camera. I'm trying to hold out. Like, to be honest with you, I'm just trying to hold out. Reap, thank you for the question. He says, would you recommend S90D over the S90C and S95C regardless of price? No. I would recommend the S90C right now because of the price. Let's say there's a less of a price difference, then the S90D does start to make sense over the S90C because there's just a lot of improvements this year, right? Like you have the BT 2020 color space by default for filmmaker mode, movie mode. I love that. There's a much quicker Tizen operating system, so very much easier to use. I love that. And if they fix some of the issues with game mode, then I'll love that as well. But those issues are somewhat correctable. But I definitely think that the game mode isn't even at its full potential for the S90D. I really don't think it's at its full potential. Like, I feel like a fix with the S90D and the game mode is going to be looking pretty special. S90C is definitely still the value pick, like Classy says. And S95D is the performance pick. If you can tolerate the coding for your environment, right? Like, do not listen to things where it's like S90D is just as good as the S95D. It's not. Like, plain and simple, it's just not. But it could get better with updates. It's still not going to be at the capability as the 95D. The 95D is honestly on its own plane. Like it's right there with the G4. S89C is like not available for most people anymore. That's the sad part. I was trying to get an S89C 77-inch because I was like, yeah, let me just put it up. Maybe it'll be like a window background or something. I could use it like I'm streaming out of a window, near a window. I don't know. I was just thinking about it. I was thinking like a S89C would be cool because you could get them open box for like $1,000, but I didn't have any near me. But I had a user report to me that, hey, a viewer report to me like, hey, KG, did you know that you can get an S89C for $1,000 open box right now? I'm like, whoa, I can't, but some people might be able to. So definitely look into that 77-inch QD OLED for $1,000 open box. I don't care if it's a display model. Give it to me. I'll buy it. It might have burn-in though, if it's a display model. So maybe you don't want it if it's a display model. Unless the S90D Gen 3 can unlock to S95D, then that would be the winner. Yeah, the problem is, Classy, is we are gonna have a hard time finding out which one is Gen 3, right? Like, can you see it in the service menu? I haven't poked around service menus, it's not something I do. But I wonder if that's gonna be even possible. Yeah. Because we don't know if the S90D is gonna be Gen 3 soon or how much Gen 2 is out there. We don't know. That's the unfortunate part. God. The dropout issue was fixed. I don't know if it was fixed or if it was like we're just not running into it. Maybe it was a bug, you know? Maybe it was something they found a bug with the hardware and they did fix something with it. Um, maybe it was related to overheating. I know some people said they like strapped a fan to their One Connect box last year and it was working better. Um, I also heard that some people were just using fiber optic cables for HDMI. This actually was Gaming Tech told me that with his S95C, he started using fiber optic HDMI. He never had a dropout. Um, I don't know if that's just like coincidence or what, but yeah, I haven't heard too much about the S95D regarding dropouts. Classy says there's a code on the TV box for Gen 1, Gen 2, so there should be the same for Gen 3. Interesting. I should look to see what codes are on my boxes. But we won't know, right, until they start using Gen 3 in the S90D? I doubt they're using Gen 3 right now. I doubt there's Gen 3 panels out there right now. 77-inch probably has the higher chance of being Gen 3 first, though. Because 77-inch, you know, had the S89C that also used QD OLED. And then we heard about Sony struggling with getting the 77-inch panels, you know, so there's that. HG says, "Hi, new here. Do you have a video on how to calibrate the G4?" There is no video that can help you calibrate a G4. You kind of just have to know how to calibrate it, to be honest with you. You would need calibration tools, software. So you can't just do this yourself unless you have the tools. I know I'm certainly not doing it or trying to do it or say that I'm doing it. Um, yeah, you definitely can't just calibrate. If you're talking about like optimal settings that are going to get you through, you know, there's some tweaks you can do to make it better, but filmmaker mode out of the box is pretty nice. And yeah, like Classy says, no TV is calibrated out of the box for sure. That's for sure. And Classy also says all TVs have a variance window. They should be coming off the line, production line. Some are worse than others. None are calibrated enough out of the box. They all have issues. Yeah. All right. All right. So I'm gonna go through a couple more questions and then we'll wrap it up. Because my camera's not coming back. It's caught. How's the motion on these TVs? Good question. Samsung has a motion issue where you stop and start scenes. If you're doing that constantly, like maybe that'll bother you. And also when the scene changes, there's a slight stutter. I barely notice it. If you really look for it, you can see it. I don't see it most of the time. Some people are really sensitive to it, so that's always been a thing on Samsung TVs. It still has that for it. LG has really good motion. With the Real Cinema option turned on, I didn't have any issues with it whatsoever. I'd say most people won't have issues with either TV motion wise, but you do have to put in that like asterisk for the Samsung, as they might have that issue and it might bother you. There's no might have that issue. They do have that issue. It might bother you though. G4 better motion than A95L in gaming? I saw it. Where did you see it at? Because unless you saw them side by side for motion, you can't judge motion on YouTube. You can't stop frames. You can't stop. You can't slow it down. You can't do any of that stuff. You need a slow motion camera in order to show motion on YouTube. This is more of just a comment, but I still can't believe the OLED S90D mix in Australia. I've checked model numbers on retailers' websites, and it looks like all of our 77 inches are OLED. Oh god, that sucks. And correct me if I'm wrong, you guys don't have the 77-inch S90C, right? So that would only leave you with the S95D and the S95C as a choice. Yeah, it's a bummer they're mixing OLED and QD OLED in certain regions. I made a whole video talking about that, and I hope it helps people out. Yeah, Classy's point, like, there really isn't a motion difference in OLEDs for gaming. They're all instant pixel response, pretty much. Yeah, the only time there's a motion difference is if you use um, something like Game Motion Plus, for example. If you want motion interpolation on in gaming at low latency, Samsung is literally the only place you can do it at low latency. So Game Motion Plus is really cool for motion interpolation in gaming if you want that. That's the only motion difference there is in game mode, though, for the OLEDs. Otherwise, they are all going to be very similar in motion. Now, is there a response time? Sorry, is there an input lag difference? Yeah, but it's so slight that I doubt many people will even notice it. Like, even with the Sony, I doubt many people will notice that input lag difference. Motion for gaming is mostly about frame rates. Yeah, I would say so. S90C has all QD OLED Gen 1 and Gen 2 panels. So S90C, 77 inches, all Gen 2 no matter what. S90C first generation panels were really early on. I doubt the S90Cs that are floating out there right now are first generation, but there's no like way I can tell you that if that's for sure. But it'd be surprising if it was. KG, did you know Vizio used to have a motion interpolation for gaming too? Yeah, I think they do, yeah. So they're not the only ones, but I have a hard time lumping Vizio into the conversation. But yeah, I did know that. I actually never tested it, so I don't know how good it works. I wish Vizio was a relevant TV company. But yeah, good point. I wish more companies did it, to be honest with you. OG COD demonstrated God of War G4 smoother and chain moving scene on the A95 though. I don't know how that would be demonstrated. That'd be interesting to see how he did that, because like there should be no motion difference at all, unless you have motion interpolation on. Now there's a chance. I'm not saying he did. I didn't watch his video. I've only seen this guy's video once. And I didn't mind his video, but I will say this, like, I haven't watched his video on this one particularly, so I don't know if he had motion interpolation on, because some people do like to put motion interpolation on with ALLM or outside of game mode. I don't know how they do it, or how they tolerate it, but maybe they had some sort of motion interpolation on. There should be no difference. Like, there should be no difference whatsoever. Gotta run, but thanks for this stream, KG. Hey, I appreciate it, Luke. Thank you for stopping by. I gotta run pretty soon too. I'm just making sure everybody's questions get answered. This one is a long one. 3 hours, 30 minutes. We went in. But we've got footage for days, so I'm happy about that. That's all I wanted. That's all I needed. So we'll be able to do a shorter breakdown video of this. That will be fun to do. I can't wait. Really quickly before I go, I do want to show you something really cool. I don't know if you guys care to see it, but I kind of want to share it. But let me see if I can share it. Let me take myself off the screen. Hold on. I want to show you guys this because I thought it was pretty cool the other night. Hold on. that's not what I want to show you. So that's a picture I took earlier this week when we had the Northern Lights going on. Was Sunday night. I thought that was really cool. I wish I would have gotten more footage of this, man, but man, it was crazy. I don't know if you guys got to see that or not, but if I got to capture something like this in HDR, this was my backyard, by the way. Like, how did I get that in my backyard? Shout out to the solar storm that was going on. Yeah, I just thought that was pretty cool. But anyway, it looks like we are mostly through with questions. So I appreciate everybody for stopping by. Thank you guys so much. You guys are all really nice to me this stream. Nobody was mean. So thank you. But no, you guys are always cool. And it's always a pleasure doing this. And hopefully this helps you. And if you guys watch this on the replay, thank you. Appreciate it. And everybody, sticking around. If you guys are buying your TV, the next TV you buy, please do consider using one of my affiliate links to support the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.